Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today I'm joined by Larry. He is the operations manager at Karma Jack. They're a leading SEO agency, and he spent over 10 years working in the marketing space. So super excited for this conversation, man. Larry, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm very excited too to share some of my experience and knowledge and any other tidbits that I can offer the digital marketing space.
Love it, man. Well, can you just start off and tell us a little bit about your experience? Like what is that, 10, 12 years been like in the marketing space?
Yeah, from a work side, I had started off actually as somewhat of a SEO technician. I can't remember the exact title, but because it was over 12 years ago. But I did a lot of the tasks that were stemmed from site audits. So you would run the audit or run the site through at Screaming Frog or some other tool to that effect. And a lot of times issues or problems would come out of that, whether it be schema markups missing or title tag, a lot of technical stuff that people weren't familiar with. And they would enter test for that, and I would of course correct any issues that were found through the site audits, and then slowly started adding on additional responsibilities just from my learnings from the SEO space, all the way from Meta ads to Google ads to maybe some LinkedIn ads, especially if it was a B2B play, and then slowly from there throughout the years and my knowledge and experience just started adding on managing clients, so more client facing rather than behind the scenes fixing issues. And then from there, managing teams that manage clients that were more client facing. So slow transition from not the bottom, but sort of the bottom towards managing teams and clients themselves.
Love it, man. And what's that transition been like? I know it's always an interesting transition when you go from a role where, you're doing the work and then client facing, you're still kind of doing the work, but have a different perspective on it. And then moving to that management role must have been different. How did you find that transition from, doing the work and then to leading teams and overseeing the teams doing the work?
Yeah, I think it was a good experience having to be behind the scenes and fixing a lot of the issues, because not only did it help you understand it so you could explain it to the clients better, but also help you understand it so you didn't have to explain it in technical terms. You could use more layman terms saying, this is why we think your site will increase X number of spots within rankings from an SEO perspective, or this is why we think you need to raise your budget on your Google ads so you can gain more conversions, etc. So there's a lot more understanding, I think, when you make that climb as I did. But then also it gives you a little bit more experience. Yes, it might take a little more time to get to that management piece, but also now you have a little bit of experience knowing what the individuals under your belt are doing and knowing what clients may or may not ask. And then again, being able to explain that to the clients and kind of resolve any issues that may come up. And a lot of people that are in management or in certain positions, they say, oh yeah, that changes, every year, every 5 years, etc. But I think in the digital marketing space, there's always changes. There's always something new, and it could be from a new browser. Now your site doesn't display correctly to the tools that you're using. I mean, some people may think Screaming Frog is archaic, and now they can use certain AI tools or tools with AI embedded within them. So I think there's been a lot of change, and it's been accelerated, especially in the last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me more about that change. Like obviously over the last 10 years, I'm sure it's been just a crazy amount that has happened and stuff. But what has that been like, especially on the technology side?
Yeah, on the technology side, it was literally usually you would do a site audit and you would have a list of issues and then you would divvy them out depending on what you think would move the needle the most. And now a lot of that was manually done before can be automated, especially if you know a lot about the client, their persona, what kind of content to write, what kind of meta descriptions and title tags to implement, etc. You can have tools that kind of see those issues and then implement a change right away. So, oh, is alt text missing? Okay, I know exactly what to write for that picture. Because not only can I read it now, meaning AI can read it now, but also I know what to write to help organically, but also of course make the site ADA compliant with that alt text being in place.
Yeah. And is that how you guys work? Like using AI where it's really capable and stuff, and then balancing that with kind of the human expertise, understanding that client and stuff. Like how do you guys best work and balance what humans are really good at and what AI is really good at?
Yeah, because AI is awesome at mimicking human behavior, a little bit of intelligence, especially on the technical side, but there's always that little bit of human touch that you need with a little bit of artwork, if you will. Yes, there's a lot of technical items to SEO, but at the same time, there's a little bit of client touching, content creation, and then content maybe molding, if you will. So you have to know what the client's goals are. You have to know what they're selling. You have to know the passion behind what they're selling and kind of implement all that within the AI tools themselves. So then if we take a blog, for example, we can take all that information that the client gives us, all the notes that we've had from the several calls that we've had them input any information that they have. Maybe they have a pamphlet about, their company and where it came from, how long it's been around, etc. Their biggest supporters, mentors. If there are 3 celebrities and they could pick one celebrity, what would it be that would be their voice? You can kind of input all of that in AI. So AI kind of learns that's the intelligent piece, and it'll spit out a blog, which is awesome. It'll be like, have the keywords in there and have a meta description, a title tag, but it may be missing part of that. So there's always that QA piece, or that human touch that you need also, including, of course, the inputs that we put at the beginning of any kind of campaign.
Okay. So you find that like AI gets you, maybe 80% of the way there, and then you still go through QA with a person, make sure that it's at your like on base, matches the actual message and essence of the brand, stuff like that.
Exactly. And if there are any issues, it's easier for an individual or human to correct those issues, or those problems, or maybe opportunities, etc., than it would be for an AI piece. And what's even more awesome that KarmaJack's doing is taking a lot of that input, especially from a content side, creating a custom GPT for, say, company ABC. So now company ABC, if they want to write some content or they want to write a social post on their own without contacting, they can literally just log in. They have their custom chat GPT, which has all this information in it itself. So it's ingrained, and then they can bust out some blogs. If they want us to QA it, yep, we can do that. But also we know that it's going to be pretty dang close based on the inputs that we had.
Okay, very cool. So you're taking like their site data, their blog posts, info about them, who they're trying to speak to, putting that into a custom GPT and then offering that to the client.
Yes, exactly. Because a lot of people, I think that's the piece they're missing. They think AI and ChatGPT has a mouthful. It's awesome, which it is. But a lot of times people are like, write me a blog about this widget, which is fine, and I'll write a blog, but it may not be exactly what they want as far as what they want to show the end consumer that's buying that individual service, or is buying that individual item. And it's going to miss some of that persona. It's going to miss some of that history. It's going to miss some of that goals, etc. So we're creating that for them. That way, when they do say write a blog about a widget and they're doing it within the custom GPT, then when it spits it out, it's much different than if you just went from a blank page.
100%. Like AI is only as good as like the data and the context that you give it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's doing a lot of the prompts. You've probably seen a lot of articles, and I always still say tweets instead of X. I don't know if you still call them X's when they're on the platform.
I call them tweets too, man.
Tweets and stuff like that. There's always some sample prompts. Oh, use these prompts to create this and use these prompts to create that. We're kind of saving all of that work and reading and educating yourself and making it one package that we're handing handing the client, so that for when they do create content for consumer, yeah, it's already there. They don't have to remember it. They don't have to input, etc. It's already with a nice little bow on top.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's an awesome way to give more value to your clients.
For sure.
I think what's the client's response been to that? Like, have they been really happy with it? What's it been like actually rolling that out and then getting feedback on it?
Yes, this is fairly new to KarmaJack in 2025. Obviously, with the evolution of custom GPTs and AI changing, but the few clients that we have rolled it out to have been blown away. Again, a lot of people aren't as familiar with AI or the AI mechanisms that are out there, the different solutions that are out there, and then even more so, the steps that would take to create a custom persona, that would create a custom GPT like this, that has their company as an individual. I'm calling the AI an individual, but it has an individual that can write content, that can write social posts, that can answer questions based on their company. I mean, they could literally say, tell me about my company, or tell me when my company started, who started it, etc. And it would know all that information already. So they have been just blown away.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And do you guys also use that then to influence like the content you generate for them, like the SEO optimized content as well? Does it kind of serve two purposes? Helps the client, helps you guys deliver for the client?
Exactly. That's where it kind of stemmed from. Probably late 2024, early 2025. We were obviously using some AI solutions to help push some content and some blogs, etc. But then we started creating custom GPTs for each client and saving those, knowing that each client has its own persona, its own history, its own background, its own goals, etc. And then we said, whoa, why don't we also offer this to the client themselves? So that way we can use it internally for our processes and content creation, but also now they can use it externally if they want to create something.
Very cool. So where have you guys found the biggest lift from AI? Is it like the creation of the content, like the written content there in the SEO process, or are there other areas in your fulfillment that you've had a huge benefit from AI?
Oh my gosh, there's so many of it. Content creation is probably the number one use and the most used as far as using custom GPTs. Because like I mentioned and I've reiterated a few times, just not having to input a lot of those inputs that you would want to say, this company started in 2010. If you were, a certain person, this is how you'd sound like, this is their goals, etc. But also at the beginning of the relationship, when you start gathering all this information and you want to construct a strategy, whether it be SEO, Google Ads, Meta Ads, maybe a playbook for them, a brand playbook, etc., you can gather all that information and have Chat GPT help you create that strategy piece, which a lot of people or agencies have dedicated a lot of time and manpower to doing something like that, as did we. But now when you have tools available like this and you input this and you do it over and over and over again, like I mentioned, they mimic your tasks and they mimic what you do and they start growing more intelligent. It's almost like you're growing your own little Converjet kid. The Converjet kid is learning and now it knows how to construct that strategy. So the content strategy, and then probably after that is going to be ad buying. So Google Ads, Meta Ads, all the same thing. Not only can we construct a strategy based on some of those inputs and what vertical they're in as far as from a marketing perspective and what they're selling, services and products, but also now we can 6 months down the line, oh, this campaign is not doing as well. Let me extract that data, CSV, upload it to chat. My kid Karma Jack, upload it to Chat GPT and say, okay, what would you do to help increase conversions or help to lower the cost per click? And 95% of the time, yes, there's gonna be some overlap of what I already know based on my experience, but also there's some ideas that I wouldn't have thought of. Oh, that's awesome. Let me see if I can implement that, do some A/B testing and kind of increase the performance from an ad buying side too. And then thirdly, WordPress is all over the place. WordPress is easy to use. You hardly have that many issues with WordPress, but if you do get a site from a client that's one of these ad hoc ones or custom coding, or maybe it's Drupal from somebody that used to be really technical, but they left that client's organization and it comes to us and they have an issue with a form not working or they have an issue with a page looking funny. So solving problems from a technical standpoint has been a huge lift using tools like ChatGPT too.
Interesting. And do you find like from the SEO side, is there a certain like CMS, like WordPress, or anything that's just like easier and better to optimize SEO for? Or what's your perspective on people actually trying to build a website? Like what types of builders should they look at if they're really aiming for high organic placement on Google?
Yeah, it seems like every hosting provider is coming out with their own AI version that will build the site within minutes and have an SEO portion to it as far as keywords and meta descriptions, title tags, all those little check boxes from an SEO 101 side. We would definitely lean towards WordPress just because of its usability and because of some of the plugins. They don't necessarily use AI to its fullest extent or the best extent, but with ChatGPT and WordPress, for example, you can push performance not only from the SEO side, but again, the landing pages from the ad buying side, etc. So WordPress would probably definitely be number one from that.
Yep, very cool. I've talked to a few other agencies too, and they've had a big lift in terms of like reporting and giving client updates and stuff using AI as well, like almost just pulling in the data, aggregating it, giving the client feedback. Here's what we should work on next and stuff, just like fully driven by AI. Is that something that you guys have also looked at or started to move towards?
Yeah, so historically we've used Looker Studio because it has a lot of connections to a lot of the tools that we use as far as Google Ads and SE ranking from the SEO side for site audits, etc. And it'll kind of holistically look at the site and some of those high level metrics. But it's again almost back to the beginning of our conversation. You have that high level metrics, which you and I probably get right away looking at it, glancing at it. But the individual or the client may look at, okay, that's my cost per click. What does that mean to me? At the end of the day, they might need that in human terms, or they may need that in some bullet point form. And AI does an awesome job of kind of summarizing the reports for you. And Google Ads is kind of integrating that too. They'll say, hey, you had 5 more conversions in the last 2 weeks, and it's because of these campaigns and these changes you did. So it kind of almost feeds it to you a little bit from the get-go.
Yeah, very cool. And it's even like if you're a client looking at it too, and it's like, okay, we have a $2 cost per click. It's like that. Is that good? And so it's like, what's the actual interpretation of that for my business? Like, are we doing well? What do we need to improve? That kind of thing, right?
Yes. Especially when you compare it to the industry standard, which is usually, again, ingrained within ChatGPT because it reaches out to the internet, kind of gathers that information for you. But also you can input, in which we usually do, some competitors. So, hey, your cost per click is $2. The two competitors you mentioned 3 months ago, theirs is $2.50 and $3 respectively. So now you have a baseline and you have a comparison against the competitors, which helps them understand it better. But then at the end of the day, they're like, awesome, I'm beating company B and company C. I don't care.
Yeah, that's all they want. I love it, man. No, that's very cool. What do you, you know, I actually have a few questions on that. The first is, it sounds like you guys are doing some really cool stuff with AI in the business and stuff. How you figured out like what to do? Like where, when you look at the business and you're like, where can we apply AI? How have you gone about that?
Oh boy, that's a great question. I don't know if there's a single answer for it. It's a lot of awesome people that work at Carmen Jack that love to play and love to play in the space that they also work in, which of course involved different tools that are available. One of those tools being AI. So they tested different AI. I mean, they tested Gemini, they tested Chat GPT and Claude and a couple others just to see what would produce the most or the best content, I should say, from an SEO perspective, what would pick the best keywords and give us search volume, but also compare that against competitors. So it's just a lot of playing and coming up with some really awesome tools that will help clients succeed, but at the same time have a little bit of fun because you're a geek at heart and that's what you love to do.
Yeah, yeah, awesome, man. I love it. And then what do you think it's gonna look like in a year, 2 years from now? Like it feels like everything's changing so fast right now. Like what do you think the future of SEO looks like and AI helping out with SEO?
That's another good question. I hope and I think I foresee there always being that human touch and that kind of, even if you want to QA and simplify it to that one term, I think that would be good enough. But I think it's going to be more and more ingrained in more agencies. But I don't know if I see agencies utilizing it like Carmen Jack does as far as offering it to the clients too, to help give them a helping hand, especially from a content side, a persona side, etc. But it should only help on the agency side. I think SEO is helping a lot with the strategy piece and the keyword piece and the content piece. But I think it's going to be more so ingrained within CMSs like WordPress. And it's going to automatically change those and say, hey, I updated these title tags. Do these look good? Almost asking you if they did a good job the day before. So it does some of that work that we're still doing with the aid of AI, but it's doing it for you now. Again, mimicking what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I think you're right on with that too, because that's kind of what we've seen in a few different industries is first like AI is an assistant, then it's kind of like a co-pilot, like, and then it's like do most of the work and you're just reviewing it. And then I don't know, who knows, eventually maybe it's like fully automated and who knows what happens then, like hopefully not. But I think it's really interesting to see those phases of development and how that plays out.
Yes, yeah, especially how fast AI has progressed and how fast it learns, like Carmen Jack, our processes and what we do from an AI and I'm sorry, from an SEO and ad buying side. Every day it's doing something else. And like you said, pretty soon it's going to take a lot of that stuff, which leaves room for a lot of creative ideas that we can input even further or, help relate to our client. And a lot more face-to-face time with them also.
It's also interesting that you guys are building like internal custom GPTs or maybe like more custom solutions and stuff. And I kind of see two things in the market. Like some people are all in on buying these like AI SaaS tools for specific tasks. Other people are more leaning towards like custom solutions for their agency. What is your kind of experience between using like these out of the box AI powered tools versus like building your own?
Yeah, the out of the box ones, we looked into a few of them and they're, again, kind of like when we displayed the custom GPTs to clients, they were like, wow, this is cool. This is sweet. But they would check 3 or 4 of the 10 boxes we wanted checked. So there's always something missing. And every one of them, it was something different. Yes, they cover the base, but there's also all these other bells and whistles we either didn't need or maybe this agency needed. So it wasn't specific to Carmen Jack. So I think creating a custom one gives you all the check boxes that you need to check. And again, almost like the client's looking for, it has that persona of that HR coworker or maybe that operations coworker. So I can say, hey, Carmen Jack AI, how many vacation days do I have left? And it knows based on what I've taken already, or it knows when my next increases of sick days, etc., from an HR side. So it kind of already knows a lot of that information, but at the same time, it can relay it faster, obviously, than looking up in a handbook, but also it can relay it in the persona that you would want it to and check some of those other boxes.
Yeah, very cool. Oh, so you guys have it tied into like everything. Like you have the client side GPTs, but then you have your internal one too, which you can kind of ask anything about your role, about kind of what to do, what's the standard operating procedure here, that kind of thing.
Yes, that's still in process, and that kind of stemming from what I mentioned before, as far as we created internal ones. So we had internal personas for each client. Then we said, hey, why don't we have one for Karma Jack? So that way, when we do something for our site, we can utilize it, but also an internal Karma Jack. So that way, when I help out a coworker with troubleshooting an individual item, it can help from that perspective. Then it kind of grows and bleeds into other areas. And then obviously the natural tendency would be also, hey, let's make sure it's ingrained in our handbook also. Well, let's make sure it is our handbook and it knows every single, T and dotted I from that perspective. So yes.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. It's funny, we've seen more and more of those like internal company AIs. And the big question I think I always hear from people is like, how do you protect the data? Like, how do you ensure that like the AI isn't trained on things that one user shouldn't be able to see and stuff? And I think that's like the tricky part of AI is managing the data privacy and everything else, because it's such a powerful tool. But I think there's also needs to be some caution exercise too and stuff, and that's almost where it gets a little harder to implement.
Yeah, for sure. We haven't run into many questions, if any, but I'm sure that's always in the back of somebody's head, and probably some bridge we're gonna have to cross soon. But somebody that's seen too many sci-fi movies where the AI takes over an individual agency or individual data, and depending on what their goal is, which is what they're gonna do with that data. I always joke, I'll put my data online. If somebody wants to know what my Instagram posts are about, they can have that.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome, man. I've also heard a lot in the SEO space about, I think it's AI search optimization, which is like, how do you come up with, when someone searches ChatGPT or Claude, like how do you come up in the search results? I was curious if you guys have been looking into that, or like what you think the future of that is, because it almost seems like a whole new branch of SEO or like a derivative of SEO that's coming out now.
Yes, for sure. And that the market share of those individual channels too is coming up more and more and more, as unfortunately the Google, the giants, less and less and less, whether it be Chat GPT or Bing, because it has the little AI bot, etc. And we kind of saw this forthcoming and started implementing that within our processes before AI search was even a term that people were using on a regular basis. And I mean, there's a bunch of items that you can make sure that your site has, again, like you used to do, like you mentioned, I started 10 to 15 years ago in SEO space. There was a 101 checkbox. Does it have all the title tags? Does it have all the meta descriptions? Yes, we still have that, but now there's almost another layer on top of that. Does it have schema markup? Because that's the first thing AI looks for. Despite being so fast and intelligent, it still wants a quick, easy business card, which is what schema markup basically is for each page, though. So is it an FAQ page? Is it a blog? Okay, what's it about? Okay, now I can revert to it if somebody asks questions around that. And then everything from intelligent content, which is kind of interesting that AI looks for that, but also AI is writing most of it, but it still has that human touch. So it's looking for its own pieces, but with that AI, with that human touch. To, am I answering questions? Do I have like an FAQ? Is the content in our blogs or case studies answering the question that the individual searcher is looking for from that side too? So if it's portraying the right information, it's doing it in a well, intelligent manner, it has some FAQ questions, and it's checks some of those boxes from the technical side, such as schema markup, that's when it's more apt to show up within that AI search. And we hit all those marks when we have a client looking for some rankings within the AI overview, Google, or other search mechanisms.
So you think like it sounds like a lot of the same principles for SEO still kind of apply for AI search and stuff, plus a few extra and stuff. So it's almost like even more important to have a site that's properly set up, with schema markup, with all your proper metadata, etc.
Exactly. Yes. And clients are getting more and more excited too, as AI, especially with Google's AI overview, again, just because they are the king of the hill right now. Before it was kind of in beta, so sometimes they saw it and they kind of knew what I was talking about when I mentioned it. And oh, you're ranking for 2 words in the AI overview. Now, when I say you're ranking for 189 words at the top search within AI overview, now they kind of understand it, because they're like, oh, AI overview, paid ads, organic, Google Business Profile. I'm king of that space. I'm monopolizing that search space. So now they get a little bit more excited.
That's awesome. And do you have visibility then into to be able to see like how many times X company came up within AI search? Then like, do they already have tracking set up for that?
They do. And I think I mentioned we use SE ranking, but there's other tools. SEMrush and Ahrefs just released their AI overview section too. So not only will it track your keyword rankings from an organic standpoint and paid standpoint, but also now it'll have an AI overview and then where you rank within that space. And it kind of helps you a lot of things I mentioned before as far as answering questions and FAQ, et cetera, and intelligent content. But it'll help you or guide you towards increasing that rank within the AI overviews.
Oh, very cool. And it's interesting too that you say like FAQ content or more like question style content seems to be ranking better on GPTs, because that's kind of what I've seen as well. Is instead of like the SEO, like the same keyword coming up multiple times and stuff, it's almost like a more question based approach that GPTs seem to latch onto in terms of the AI search rank.
For sure, for sure. It's almost like the old, I mean, Google still has it, but I say old because I'm used to trying to rank for what else did people search for under Google's search results. Because that always was on top of organic. People were like, I want to be in that section. That was like a very simplified version of the AI overview. And now people are like, hey, I want to rank in the AI overview, which usually is above that. What else did people search for? So it's very similar in nature. So it's kind of grown and got more intelligent and gives a lot more information. But at its core, it's the same.
Has there been a dip in PPC then? Because like the AI search now is like the number one thing, or like have they even introduced like pay per click to show up in AI search?
Actually, that's interesting. You asked last week. I actually just read an article from Google that they are introducing that in beta. So now not only does Google Ads show up obviously where they usually do, but they're showing up within the AI overview space. And in addition, if they have certain scores for your Google campaigns, if it has like some good quality words and good headlines and descriptions, it gives a certain score. If it ranks high enough, not only will it show at the top of the search results, but it'll show at the bottom. So yes, it's almost seen an increase with AI because now it's showing up in multiple places. As far as Google, they want to get their dollar too, right? So they're showing up in more spaces where more people are reading and interacting with content. So yeah, I think it's definitely not seen a decline. If anything, it's seen an incline. In addition to things that they're introducing, everything from Performance Max having some AI pieces to it, and beta actually just released yesterday AI campaigns. So it's strictly an AI, so it's like an advanced version of Performance Max, if you will. So very similar to custom GPTs, but it's within the ad buying space.
Very cool. It feels like we're finally starting to keep up. Like AI search got released, search type on Google, and then I feel like there was a period of time where there was no real tracking, no like pay per click to appear in there and everything. And it's like now it feels like we're almost finally catching up there.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, with all those solutions in place, I think it's just becoming more and more talked about, more and more written about. And as people learn more about it, it's being utilized more, reported on more, understood more. So yeah, I totally agree. It's evolving. I should say we're evolving as AI is evolving. So we're catching up from a marketing side.
Very cool. Sounds like such an interesting new a space to work in. It's like almost a whole new branch of SEO and stuff that's just like come out within months, even, maybe barely a year.
Yes.
Now and stuff. What's it like working in that environment where it feels like something's changing every day?
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's exciting. It's always changed the last 10 years, 12 years that I've been involved with in digital marketing space, but definitely the last 3 or 4 years, and then with the last year, it's changed every day. And you have to kind of try to keep up. I mean, read as much about it as following different blogs and articles and being involved in different betas. Like I mentioned, the Google Ads beta for AI search, and Google search has a different beta available also, which is just AI results rather than the organic ones that we're used to seeing and paid ones that we're used to seeing. So I think as long as you keep up on the different changes or try to keep up on the different changes and utilizing all the tools to your advantage, you can try to, it's fun, but difficult too.
And there's so much happening like every day, and so it's almost like a full job trying to keep up. Like, how do you ensure that you keep up, or like that everyone on your team, I guess, keeps up with AI as it shifts so quickly?
Ooh, good question. I think I mentioned before just the awesome, intelligent, somewhat geeky team that we work with here at Carmen Jack. If you have coworkers that help and share that information, so as soon as I read something or I try something out, make sure that I share that with my coworkers or anybody that's within my team. And then vice versa, I obviously stress them, hey, you read anything or try anything that's awesome, even if it's an existing tool, it's not brand new, but something maybe I've never tried. Let's make sure we share that information and share that knowledge. That way we're all kind of learning at the same time.
Yeah, very cool. I want to jump into as well, like some of the other channels or things that you guys work on, because we went into SEO a lot there. So you guys also do like Google pay-per-click. You mentioned meta ads as well. Is there any other channels or any other services that you offer to clients?
Yeah, we're a full service creative and marketing agency, so we also do a lot of creative items, whether it be you want a new logo to I want a whole completely different site because I use this template on Wix and it looks nothing like my brand and has none of the branding colors and it doesn't really speak to me, etc. So all that gambit of services that we do offer. And we definitely use AI in all of those, everything from creating that brand new guide to helping create strategy to writing headlines within the Google ad space to descriptions to analyzing data after a few months and saying, hey, this campaign isn't performing well, or even if it is performing well, what can I do to up it just a tad more? And here's some other data points from a competitive standpoint.
Yeah, very cool. So you've had a huge lift across, everything that you guys do for clients. It sounds like using AI.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. We definitely utilize the tools that are at our fingertips to its fullest extent, but giving it that human touch and that Carbon Jack touch for sure.
Awesome, man. I love that. It's all about balancing the human, taking the things that humans are really good at, balancing that with what AI is really good at.
Right.
And stuff. And it's just crazy to watch because it's like, I feel like every day I'm on X and then I see like some new crazy AI use case, something someone's using it for. I'm like, how? That's so nuts.
Yes. It's exciting, fun, and neat to watch for sure.
Yeah. Very cool, man. Well, what advice would you have for someone in the marketing space just trying to keep up and really ensure that they're doing enough about AI so they can stay competitive?
Yeah, don't overthink it or try to get too involved or too in the deep end, if you will. Just utilize it, test it, say, hey, what can I do for this particular process or this particular client? Let me find a way to make it easier and test and play and have fun with it. Don't necessarily just go out, like I mentioned before, and buy this tool that has these 10 awesome features from an AI side, but maybe they're only having 1 or 2 boxes. Don't be afraid to create your own tool, if you will, or custom GPT. It's not as difficult as people think. And I think playing in the space and then just getting some intelligent, fun coworkers that also like playing in the space and then coming up with some really cool solutions.
Yeah, I love that. I think the companies that do the best and are the farthest ahead, it seems to always be ones that have a culture of like curiosity.
Yes, that's
Curious, like people that are really willing to learn, but really curious and excited about what they do and like how AI can change it.
right. Yes. Yeah. I mentioned troubleshooting sites. I mean, we have individuals a year ago, if you asked them even what Drupal was, let alone troubleshooting an issue with Drupal, they probably wouldn't have known from a CMS side, but they probably wouldn't have known from a CS side, but now it's much AI. Makes it much easier.
Awesome. Love it. Very, very cool. Well, Larry, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. It was a great discussion. I feel like I learned a lot about SEO and like the current state of it and how AI is changing it, man. So really appreciate you coming on. And yeah, it was great to meet you, man. Thank you again.